Hello, Peter the Cat here. I've been reviewing the direct-to-DVD Garfield movies released between 2007 and 2009, and if you haven't seen them, I suggest checking them out. But for the third and final movie, Garfield's Pet Force, I wanted to do something a bit different. Many people who look at this movie will probably be confused and wonder, why is Garfield being combined with superheroes? Is Jim Davis just trying to capitalize off superhero movies like Iron Man and The Dark Knight? Well, yeah, it most likely is. However, it's probably forgotten except among die-hard Garfield fans like myself that Garfield's Pet Force was originally a series of children's chapter books released between 1997 and 1999. The Garfield website used to have a lot of content promoting the Pet Force series in the 90s that is now only viewable through Internet Archive, and if you search Garfield's Pet Force on Google or Wikipedia, most hits will be about the 2009 movie while overlooking the original book series. So I thought it would be interesting before I review the movie to delve into the creation of Pet Force and my own history with the series. The idea for Pet Force goes back to 1993, during a brainstorming session between Jim Davis and several other artists at Paws Inc., coming up with new ideas for t-shirts. One of Jim Davis's assistant artists, Gary Barker, did a sketch of Garfield as a superhero, and Davis approved of the idea. The Garfield website says Garfield and Odie started to appear as superheroes on t-shirts, and while Google Images does show me many different Pet Force shirts, I'm unsure which of these date from the 90s and which ones came out with the 2009 movie, aside from obvious ones that use the DVD cover on the shirt or phrases like, "One cat can make a difference," which came from the movie. If there's any Garfield collectors watching this that might have these t-shirts, or someone who kept a Garfield catalog that showed these shirts on sale, I'd be interested in seeing them. Jim Davis thought the idea had potential, so he and Barker teamed up with Mark Acey, the author of many Garfield's children books, and developed a whole superhero team for Garfield. Originally the team was going to be called G-Force, years before the Disney Guinea Pig movie, but was later changed to Pet Force due to copyright concerns. Pet Force consisted of Garfield as Garzuka, who could hack gamma-radiated hairballs and had razor-sharp claws, Odie as Odious, who had a super stretchy stun tongue, Arlene as Starlina, who had a hypnotic song, The Meow That Wows, that puts enemies into a sleepy trance, though Garzuka is immune to it, Nermal as Abnormal, who had ice powers and could generate force fields, and Pookie as Calm Pookie, who is basically the R2-D2 of the team and just did technical stuff, no real superpowers. In order to drum up interest in the series, an animated trailer was created for Pet Force, and Jim Davis used this to pitch the idea to Scholastic. The pitch was a success, and Jim Davis struck a book deal with them. This animated trailer was available to view on the Garfield website for a while, and can still be downloaded through Internet Archive, though it's very low quality since this is 90s internet we're talking about.
Once they were mere animals working for scale on a mundane cartoon show. Now, through a mega mutant metamorphosis, they have been miraculously transformed into the incredible Pet Force.
There was also a Pet Force theme song, however Internet Archive didn't save it, so anyone who uses the Lost Media Wiki that might be watching, there's a piece of Lost Garfield content to look for. This trailer and theme song make me wonder if Jim Davis actually wanted to do a Pet Force TV series, maybe as a follow-up after Garfield and Friends ended in 1994, but I guess we'll never know. There were some changes from the trailer to the books, though. From the description the trailer gives, it sounds like originally Garfield and his friends would have gained superpowers from mutations as if they were X-Men, but that ended up getting dropped. The trailer also says that Abnormal has pester powers, while saying nothing about him being able to generate ice or force fields. I'm going to guess the trailer was produced while the team was still being developed, and Davis, Barker, and Acey hadn't finalized what Abnormal's superpowers would be. In 1997, the first Pet Force book, The Outrageous Origin, was released, with children's author Michael Teitelbaum as the writer, and Gary Barker and another Garfield artist, Larry Fentz, doing the book illustrations. The story takes place between two parallel universes: our universe, where Garfield and friends live, and Pet Force is just a comic book, and a parallel universe where Pet Force exists. Pet Force ends up getting defeated when they are banished into a ghostly dimension with no escape by their archenemy Vetvix, a doppelganger of Garfield's veterinarian Dr. Liz. Vetvix uses her dark magic and technology to combine animals together, such as making a half-gorilla, half-pit bull as one example, and wishes to conquer the universe. In order to stop Vetvix, the parallel versions of John and Binky the Clown, in this universe named Emperor John and Sorcerer Binky, use a magic cauldron to pull Garfield and friends through a Pet Force comic book owned by Nermal into their universe, which transforms Garfield and his friends to become the new Pet Force. When the new Pet Force finishes saving the day, Sorcerer Binky returns Garfield and his friends to our universe, where they change back, and due to how time passes differently between both universes, Garfield's owner John never realizes that his pets have gone missing. After this, every book that follows is a different adventure where Garfield and friends are brought back into the parallel universe to fight different supervillains. I realize to non-Garfield fans this probably sounds really crazy, but my artist GuineaPigDan was a kid when he first read these books, and he thought they were the most awesome thing ever at the time. Every book has its own twists and turns, and it was fun to see Garfield taken out of his usual element while still keeping the same zany humor you'd see in the comics or on the Garfield and Friends TV show. It was really amusing seeing how the characters would clash with each other while trying to work as a team, with Garfield hating being a superhero, while Nermal and Arlene enjoy it, and Odie being his usual clueless self. The 5th book in the series, Attack of the Lethal Lizards, ends with Vetvix swearing revenge on Petforce after her previous defeat, and unfortunately we never got to see what happened next because the series ended after only 5 books. The Petforce section was eventually removed from the Garfield website sometime in 2000, and the book series just fell by the wayside. A decade after the last Petforce book was published, Petforce was brought back as a direct-to-DVD movie, and to my surprise, one of the trailers for the movie actually reused part of the old Petforce trailer from the 90s. However, it cuts out the transformation sequence so children don't have to see Arlene growing huge balloon breasts.
What happens when your favorite comic strip characters collide with forces from another dimension?
While the 90s trailer got partially reused, the Petforce theme song from the 90s goes unused in either the trailer or the movie. The movie makes a couple changes from the books, and for this video I'll just look at changes made to the Petforce team itself. I'll highlight more changes between the books and the movie in my actual review. The movie is set in the comic strip world as established by Garfield Gets Real and Garfield's Fun Fest, and while the plot has some similarities with the first book, The Outrageous Origin, it mostly tells its own original story. Konpookie was cut from the movie despite being in the movie trailer, and it's an understandable cut since he had no actual combat skills and the movie's story didn't really have any places where he could do something technical. Garzuka and Odious' superpowers stayed pretty much the same in the movie. A detail I noticed, while book illustrations of Garzuka's gamma-rated hairballs were uncolored, the 90s trailer colored them green, and the movie carried this color scheme over. Jim Davis even recycled Odious' description from the 90s Petforce trailer almost word for word in the Petforce movie.
Odious, possessor of a potent stun tongue, this canine crusader has a black hole where his brain should be.
Odious, the canine crusader with a potent stun tongue and a black hole where his brain should be.
Starlina and Abnormal, on the other hand, had their powers changed for the movie. Starlina's hypnotic song was changed to freeze vision that immobilizes opponents, probably to solve a problem in the books where her song could be blocked simply by covering one's ears. And since Starlina's new superpowers made Abnormal's ability to freeze opponents with ice redundant, his ice and force field powers were replaced with super speed, probably to be more fitting with Normal's annoying personality. In fact, it might be possible Jim Davis got the idea for Abnormal having super speed from the 90s Petforce trailer.
Abnormal, more obnoxious than your little brother, this tank-sized space cadet has pester power of cosmic proportions.
Abnormal, quick as a blink with pester power of cosmic proportions.
Is this your gun? Is this your belt?
Both the trailer and his introduction in the movie have him rushing around other characters quickly and in circles, and the fact that the phrase "he has pester powers of cosmic proportion" is also reused leads me to think this isn't just a coincidence. Starlina and Abnormal's designs have also slightly changed over time. Starlina's original appearance had her outfit being purple and yellow with these garment things attached to her arms. Book illustrations changed her colors to purple and orange and added a ponytail. The movie reverted back to the purple and yellow appearance, but removed those arm garments and the ponytail, probably so she'd be easier to animate. Abnormal's body in the trailer and books looks like the body of a little kid, and the trailer shifts between the colors of his cape, gloves, boots, and headband being either light blue or white. The books have them white, while the movie changes them back to light blue, and it also changes Abnormal's body to be the same as Normal's regular body. A few years after the movie, Kaboom Studios launched a series of Petforce comics alongside their Garfield comic book, reintroducing Konpookie and merging Abnormal's super speed and ice powers together in a parody of Crisis on Infinite Earths. I find it interesting, despite the changes to these new iterations of Petforce, Jim Davis and his creative team will still do subtle nods to Petforce's earlier history from the 90s, with character descriptions or design ideas from that time. Changing the superpowers a bit and cutting Konpookie doesn't bother me much. As you will see in my review, the movie has bigger flaws than just changing the team a bit. Hopefully this brings viewers up to speed on what Garfield's Petforce is. You don't have to be familiar with the books to understand the movie, but I just want to put this all out there since a lot of content about Petforce's development is now only available through Internet Archive, and since I was familiar with the original book series, it gave me certain expectations for the movie, so I apologize ahead of time if I come off like a disgruntled fanboy whenever the movie falls short. This isn't going to be a review like what you might see from non-furries or non-Garfield fans, like the people over at Common Sense Media who are just completely confused by what they're seeing. Garfield and superheroes? What the hell is this? With all that out of the way, let's jump into my review of Garfield's Petforce.